Well, Mark, thanks for having us here today at Vita. It has been an incredible year, a wonderful season, culminating in the title and the trophy presentation. We hope to have the trophy here. We were going to have the trophy here today, but it's at a primary school, I believe. How proud are you today?
Yeah, incredibly proud. I mean, it's doing the rounds, the trophy now. It's either at schools or pubs, yeah. I think. They're the two things, both with Steve Bellis, I think. But I'm incredibly proud. I think, at the start of the season, I was adamant in my own head that we were going to do it. Simon and Dave were telling me a top 3 finish was achievable, but I wouldn't say I'd have been disappointed if we hadn't have won it, but I was confident. I think from even a slightly bumpy start that we always seem to have, that everyone tells me we have every year, and we always have had every year, which I don't understand why we have to start slowly. But no, I'm really pleased. I'm chuffed.
You came in at the start of 2020, obviously with this 7-year plan. Given where we are today, given what we're talking about, have we surpassed those expectations of that ambition that you had?
Yeah, we're ahead of the curve, I'd say. Simon's plan. Simon wrote the plan. I don't profess to know anything about football really to have contributed to the structure of that and the vision. I'd say we're probably a year ahead of schedule. We're left with 3 years to get to the championship. I think what the benefits we've had of that plan, because that plan wasn't just about being on the pitch and performing there. It's about the community trust, about the education programme that at the start we had the vision for, which has been delivered, incredibly. 250 16 to 18-year-olds on the programme for this September. It was about infrastructure and the one benefit. My timing for buying the club was horrific, but the one benefit COVID gave us was the fact that we weren't putting debt in. I was converting what I put in to equity, and so we had the equity. So we chose to get inside Edgley Park and upgrade what we had at a time when you're never given that opportunity. Being shut for 12 months nearly gave us the opportunity to do that. And normally you've got 6, 8, 10 weeks in the closed season to try and get everything done, or it's loads of disruption. So I think all of those things together culminate in us being probably a year ahead of where I thought we'd be. So academy, everything else. So it's going well.
You've been very upfront about the money that it's cost, and that was always part of the plan. But in terms of sustainability, and there has to come a tipping point, it has to come back at some point. How sustainable is this model now that you've built? Because there's a lot of staff now, there's a lot of players, there's some good contracts in there. How sustainable is it? And I'm thinking about things like salary management, cost protocols when you get into League One. How sustainable is it?
Yeah, when I bought the club, there was, I think, 6 full-time members of staff, and obviously various part-time, including the playing staff. I think there's now 175 full-time members of staff and 250 part-time. Mike Petch were kind of, contributing from the day I got there, but not either of you as permanent as it is now. And so many of those things we're advancing so many of those areas, but there's still, the great thing is, Steve Bellis as well, there's key people who were there at the start of the journey. On sustainability, we always, there always was going to be this, you've got to buy yourself out of the National League, in my opinion. Very hard to play your way out of the National League. We bought our way out. Wrexham bought their way out. Chesterfield, I think, have done the same thing as well. There's always, you know, and with us, the tough part was us and Wrexham were trying to do it at the same time, and luckily we just got ahead of them there, and you know they then sailed through and then done the same again this year. I think during that time of getting ourselves out of the National League, you would then have a group of players that you've had to invest in to do that on reasonable contracts, not long term. So there's a hangover for that. So, you know, we chose to invest in a group of players that we thought could get us out of the National League, but then also be able to go again.
Step up, yeah.
There's actually a sweet spot, we believe, in League One where this is the point in time to make the transition, because, you know, that being able to do National League straight up to League One and then go with the same group of players to the Championship, I think would be a massive stretch for anyone to do. And I think now is a great time for us to look at the next 3 years as a plan and look at, you know, player-wise, infrastructure-wise, all those things together, how we change that for the next part of the journey. And you know, I'm in full agreement with Simon and Dave that this is the time when we have to go younger. You know, you look at young players that we have in League Two who play a full season in League Two are probably worth £250,000 to the club. They play a full season in League One, they're worth £1 million to the club. So they're really, because if they're performing in League One at a standard that can probably perform the Championship, then it's real value. So this is the tipping point, I believe, where you can get, you know, players like Ethan Pye, Ryan Rydell, the young talent, where with a decent run of games you're creating real value. And I think we can drive revenues at the club. We're full an awful lot of the games. We can sell more shirts. You know, we sold, I think, 1,500 shirts the year I bought the club. I've ordered 25,000 for this summer. So there's things we can do to drive revenue. You know, revenue approaching 10 million now compared to what it was when we bought the club. Yeah. So there's loads of things we can do, but the truth is we can't magically go from 10,000 to 20,000 capacity, and there's an awful lot of investment needed for that. It needs to come from I think, a more sustainable way of looking at the pitch, of what's on the pitch, and it needs to come from value creation in players now.
If you're talking about driving revenues, maximising revenues, one thing you possibly could have done would be maybe to increase season tickets a little bit more, and the fans won't thank me for saying it, but I think it would have been understandable, but you pegged it at 5%, 6% increase. What was the thinking there?
I think it's a two-way street. You know, we have to increase. There's more costs involved with being in League One, and there isn't an awful lot more revenue. We have to increase the ticket prices, but truthfully, we've also got to reward the loyalty. We want to fill that stadium every week. So, and you know what? Even if we'd have increased them by 15%, we probably, playing great football, we probably would have still been filling that stadium. That's the wrong thing to do. Yeah. You know, it's so important that we have the people who've been on this journey way before I got involved to still be able to take part in that journey and does not price them out. You know, I think there's an awful lot of negativity around what the Premier League clubs do. And I don't want us to ever be seen in the same way. So we'll continue. You know, that places challenges on me personally financially, because obviously I'm putting in the difference. But I think it's the right thing to do. You know, it confuses me when I know we want to grow a fan base. So the way to do that is to make the fans we've got who are reliably coming to all those games solid and affordable for them. We want to bring back the ones who used to come in the glory days, as people refer to it, flying the championship, and we've reignited their interest. We want to get those guys back. And this is the bit that I can never understand. We want to attract the new fans, generally younger fans, whose parents are probably supporting one of the two big Premier League clubs, and coax them into coming. So, and I think by making it affordable, we have more of a chance of doing that. I know an awful lot of county fans that say, well, we don't want any City and United fans here. I mean, I understand if somebody turns up in a City or United shirt, which has happened. But, you know, I grew up as a Man City fan. My dad was a City fan. My granddad was a City fan. My great-granddad was a City fan. My dad goes to every county home game now. He watches every away game. He's in his 70s. My mum watches every single county game. So, you know, you can make the crossover, and we want that to happen. You know, I want, you know, when you drive around Stockport now, Bramall, Poynton, Edgley, Hazel Grove, anywhere, there are county shirts everywhere, mainly worn by young kids. That's brilliant. That's the next generation. That's what we need to attract. And I think we've got to focus on keeping that affordable for people, making it affordable for kids and parents to come together, and then it becomes part of their Saturday. It becomes part of their upbringing that they, you know, and if that's a positive journey, because we're winning games, we're playing attacking football, and actually it's a hassle to go and watch Man United or Man City, and it's really easy to jump off the train and walk to Edgley Park. There's the narrative there, coupled with us not being greedy on the prices, is how we're going to grow our fan base and hopefully fill a 18 to 20,000 capacity stadium one day.
You talked earlier about younger players, and I think it does feel at the minute a bit like a sort of changing of the guard, doesn't it? With the news that's gone on the last few weeks. You know, we've said goodbye to some great servants, the likes of Ryan Crosdale, Miles, Paddy, of course, who've left, but also these longer contracts to young up-and-coming talent. And that kind of underscores what you were saying earlier, and it is the future.
Yeah. It's all three of those guys have played a big part in that journey out of the National League, and then that journey into League One. So, you know, I think it's a brutal business, isn't it? It's a horrific industry. That you can have a massive celebration, and then literally 2 days later, Dave Challoner sat down with somebody saying, actually, we're not going to renew your contract. It's, you know, I've had to be pretty tough in business to make a success of what I've done, but I don't think I'm that brutal. You know, it's a tough industry.
It is, yeah.
So you know, in the same vein, I understand why players protect themselves.
Because they're almost victims of their own success, aren't they? By helping us get up.
Yeah. And you know, I think the other thing is giving long-term contracts. Yeah. We should only be doing that really without the occasional exception. I'm smiling because there is one bit which I just put my foot down on, and that's Ben. You know, he was delivering, I think, bread in the mornings or something when I bought the club, and then training in the afternoon, and you know, won the Golden Glove again. He literally is incredible. So even when we started talking about new contracts, I said, well, I don't care what you and Simon and Dave, I don't care either of you think. Ben's getting a 2-year deal or not. Okay, well, let's talk through. No, he's getting a 2-year deal. So I don't even think it's gone out yet. It's been announced, but there we go.
Yeah.
In fact, by the time we show this, it probably will have been announced. But we've the long-term contracts, and I don't throw my weight around very much, even though I've got a bit of weight to throw around. The long-term contracts should be given to players where we can create value. And it's sad because Paddy has created value in the club that I bought. Yeah. He's been a massive part of that. So have Ryan and Miles. But, you know, you look at Paddy and, you know, he's a talisman. He is front and centre towards the back end of this season when we had to drag it over the line. I think he was head and shoulders above everyone for that commitment to get us over the line. So, and he's a good guy. And that's the brutal part of this. And you know, the age he's at, we couldn't give him the contract that he probably deserves. Somebody else has. And, you know, we should wish him well. And because you're a player for a finite amount of time. And, you know, I don't go on social media. Simon does, thank God Simon doesn't. These days it's a bit more positive, but brutal in the early days. But, you know, people have said to me, you know, people are horrified that, you know, we should be rewarding that, and it doesn't work like that, unfortunately. Sure. And yes, we're rewarding Ethan Pye with a long-term contract because of how he's played this season. But selfishly, we're also rewarding him with that because that creates value for this club, which is the chance of making this club sustainable.
You talked earlier about filling the ground, and I think it's been so impressive to watch things, like you say, kids with the shirts on. The courtyard has been a great initiative as well. That's really worked well. And you have had the sold-out signs out quite a bit. You've been, again, very open about the plans for Edgley Park. Is it achievable to grow the club still within that footprint, given that trajectory that we're on?
Yeah, we're going nowhere. I mean, it's... I think, you know, there's a challenge anyway with land in Stockport. So even if I'd had ambitions to build the new camp or the Burnabout on the outskirts of where the pyramid is, there's just no land available. No. Plus, I think there's an awful lot to be said for creating a cauldron, creating a 15 to 20,000 capacity stadium, with people who've sat in the same seats for, you know, people who do move grounds. It takes a while to, you know, because people, you know, are separated from where they were sat. It takes a while to have that atmosphere again. So I think us staying at Edgley Park, expanding that, and I think 17,000, 18,000 capacity is really the sweet spot of where we can get to. That takes an enormous amount of investment to get there. But that's kind of the, you know, in the Championship, do I think we could fill 17,000, 18,000 seats on the trajectory we're on, growing the fan base we're doing, playing against clubs like Blackburn who might bring 3,000 fans? Yeah, I really think we can. So, you know, while I own the club, we'll always stay at Edgley Park, and the investment I'm putting in to develop Edgley Park, I think anyone would be a lunatic to come in and change that and take it anywhere. So, you know, I'm excited about the next phase. It's going to be 2 phases. It's 3 phases, but really the first 2, Bagara, Railway End, are being done pretty much at the same time. Right. All those things need changing. The roof's been there 100 years, you know, and the Railway End needs doing. And I think by replicating pretty much what we've got at the Cheadle End at the Railway End and making that another home end, I think is going to be, and that's, you know, I see that as the development of the new fans that we want to bring through, and creating some more, you know, some more corporate areas where we can try and drive the revenue. Again, I know fans don't always like hearing that, because that brings in non-fans, but that is how we're going to try and make this club sustainable. But that, you know, as that phase happens, I think that's going to be really exciting.
One other thing you spoke to me 4 years ago when we did the transfer of ownership of the club, and one of the things you were very excited about then.
That smelly boardroom.
In that awful boardroom. With the coldest table in the world.
Yeah, that marble table, yeah. And the picture, I can't remember the picture, done by Scarborough, that we've still got in the Porsche lounge. We've got it up there, and Steve Bellis always said, it's got a lot of value, that. I was thinking, actually, yeah, that's about the only value that I've got. the one picture that we still have. But yes,
Yeah,
I remember
it's
the
still
board.
there.
Yeah.
But you spoke to me then about the academy, and you talked about the 7-year plan. But and as you said earlier on in this, it wasn't just about the first team. So much of it that was underpinning it was about the academy. How pleased are you with the progress and Damien Allen and all the work that's gone on behind the scenes? It seems to be, to the layman, it seems to be flourishing.
It's incredible. Yeah, I mean, I think the two areas, aren't there, with ex-players? One is the education, which is just flying, and Michael Rains is there. I'm so proud of what we're doing there. And obviously we bought Stockport Town, and then a load of those young lads on the education programme are now playing at Stockport Town, and James Vincent's there as well playing, Bully's managing it and playing. So there's loads of connections there from county of old. We've then got the academy that is 2 years in, and I mean, Damien's a smart guy. Damien's done an incredible job, and with all of the rest of the team he has, in 2 years we've gone, we've got our category 3 status, but it wasn't just getting the status. Literally, the audit was like a Premier League club. I mean, it was incredible, the feedback we got. There was less points for us to have to review than they say that they give to Premier League clubs when they've done an audit. It was, we've again, as we've done with everything, we've set up infrastructure there from a people perspective, as though it's a Championship club from day one, as though we're Cat 2. I think actually from a people perspective, we're almost Cat 2 anyway. It's just the indoor dome facility we haven't got, which we just bought some land last week actually to look at doing that. I mean, my son signed in the under 14 or going into the under 15s, and we've done really well in Cat 3 matches this year. We win most of them, and score a lot of goals. And we've had friendlies against Cat 1 and Cat 2 clubs where we have, beaten some of them and been very, very close in others. And then we've ended up towards the end of the season with an awful lot of scouts at games because we're getting a reputation for bringing through talent. When I bought the club originally, it was a tussle between Simon and I about, is it the Brentford model where you start at 16?
Yeah.
And it's one of the things that I fought for in the plan. Pretty much the only thing I fought for in the plan, because everything else he knew, was basically, I really want to have that, 300,000 people nearly in Stockport, 2 massive clubs who are Cat 1 and on a different stratosphere from most Premier League clubs, both of them. Certainly City, and the infrastructure they've now got, and the 11 clubs around the world, and it is incredible. Simon was there 11 years. So, we were thinking that there's so many kids that don't get there. We're in an area with a 300,000 catchment area where you've got Phil Foden and Taylor Harwood Bellis, both born the stone's throw from Edgley Park. Why aren't those kids in an academy linked to Stockport County? And I think we're on the start of the journey there. Damien's the right man to do it. And I think within 2 to 3 years, maybe less, we'll have players in the first team. There's one already now that I know in 2 years' time will be making his appearance in the first team. Right. And he's been playing under 14s this year, and I'm looking at it thinking, I can see that happen. And that is how we play. We create real value, and that, for me, is really, really exciting.
You mentioned also in the middle of that about the football education programmes, and it is great to have Rainsy back in the building. That's fantastic.
What a character.
But Lucy as well, all the work that goes on there. How does that all tie in? What was the thinking in the expansion, the growth of that area?
Yeah, I mean, as I said to you, I don't really know football that well, but the whole idea of getting involved in a club was, I love football, but I don't profess to know an awful lot about it. I like watching good football. But football connects in a community in a way it kind of transcends everything in a way that so few platforms can do. So, and for me, I think it's getting harder in those state school platforms to get facilities and options for career paths. It's getting harder from when I was a kid, and I thought I really want. I've done okay for myself, and I really wanted to be able to invest in Stockport as an area, and the football club was the perfect way to do it. But education was a big driver for me there. So having something, being able to be aligned with the club, gave us access to, into schools to talk about what we wanted to do, but created interest as well. Lucy has done a fantastic job. All of the team have done an incredible job. But what we've created there and the team behind it in 3 and a bit years, and having I think we had about 97, 98 graduated this year, of which over half, I think, got enough UCAS points to it had they chosen to go to university. We had, I think, one lad going to Loughborough. Creating opportunities and pathways that just weren't there. If people are passionate about sport, if people are passionate about sport and they're bright enough to go on that journey, us giving them that pathway, I don't know why every club's not doing it, because it's one of the easiest connections to get a young person motivated to continue with a pathway. So it's we've just effectively put a few breadcrumbs down, and everyone else has done the work. I mean, literally, it was an idea, and the team behind it have just delivered a vision which has surpassed my expectations. And I had Ken Knott, the chairman, has been with one of the leads in all the vision of the education platform this week, chatting to a university provider, because we're looking at the new facility I'm trying to build in the Stockport borough, which we'll bring the first team to, but we're also going to build a school or an education facility for another 1,000. We're working with Stockport Council with now. And the idea is that could also have I always get this wrong, a higher education or further education platform. So I think we can really, this can be 16 all the way through to 21, 22. Not all football, but related to sport. And I think if we can deliver on that plan over the next 5 years, then, irrelevant of how we're doing on the pitch, which we will be doing well, I think this is a legacy for Stockport County Football Club that can last for 50, 100 years.
You've talked there, Mark, about buying a plot of land and the school and the indoor dome and so on. I'm conscious that we do at the minute have use of a fantastic training facility at Carrington, but effectively we are still tenants there. I know how good it's been in terms of recruitment, because players, media, whoever you take in that building, they're blown away by it. But we are effectively still tenants. So is the plan to get out of there at some stage in the near future?
In the end, yes. We've just extended the lease there. We're just about to invest heavily this summer to be able to take the scholars up there, which I think is really important when you're trying to convince a 16-year-old to join us ahead of a Cat 1 club, academy, or a club that's in the Championship or even the Premier League. Taking them to a facility like Carrington moves the dial. And saying, actually, as a scholar, you're going to be training same area that the first team. You want to be a striker, and actually you're training next to Tanto, and this is how he's being developed. I think it's a great story. So we're investing more in Carrington now, but the long-term vision is having it all within the Stockport borough. We're really lucky to have that facility. We work really well with the new owners of Sale Sharks, not the historic ones, and Sale FC and Man City, who are the overall owner. of the facility. And Man City won the Premier League training on the pitches there, 13-14 season, and we're training on the same grass. Now Kashi's doing it; it's just better now.
It's quite right. Dave Challoner has had so much praise for what he's achieved since coming into the club. But I am also conscious that you've mentioned Simon Wilson a couple of times, and I don't think he had the easiest start to his time with Stockport County, obviously. But I think now people are starting to see the merit, the value that he provides. You're absolutely wedded to his vision now, aren't you?
I wouldn't have bought the club had I not met Simon. I wouldn't have been able to deliver 20% of what we delivered without him. So I mean,
what is it? What
he got? Dave Challoner deserves all applaud. He's done. His record is literally.
It's ridiculous.
Incredible.
Isn't it?
Yeah. 14 seasons in the playoffs every season. Even the last 3 with us, won a title, lost on penalties at Wembley, and then won a title. I mean, it's incredible. So, and then get promoted this year in the playoffs. So that's what I'm suggesting to them anyway. But Simon, Dave wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Simon. I thought we should bring someone else in because I don't know football.
You did take some persuading, I'll be honest.
Yeah, no, I did. Because there was somebody else that I was for, and Simon's like, "This is the man, Mark. This is the man." Do you remember that awful game against Hartlepool? I'm like, well, I do, yeah. But and Dave is the man, and I'm so glad Dave's here, and the two of them work really well together.
I think that's the interesting bit for me is the dynamic, because if you meet them separately, they're quite different characters.
Yeah.
But actually together they're quite aligned, aren't they? Their thought process.
Very analytical, both.
And they're very modern, aren't they? They're in their approach to the game.
Yeah, I mean, they are very similar. I mean, Simon's, he did 11 years at City, worked with the Premier League, worked with the UEFA. He's worked at clubs who've been relegated. He's worked at clubs that run the Premier League. He's seen the ups and downs, but most importantly, he has, in his time, I think at Man City, he's part of a club that was on a massive trajectory. He's part of the team that set up New York City, Melbourne City. So he's done all sorts of different things, and he tells me about the learnings that he had that he think they got totally wrong there as well. And we've just tried to do things in the best way throughout the first 4 years, but so much of that is down to Simon and the fact because Simon doesn't tell everyone about that. He's got no ego whatsoever, so people just don't know how good he is. And at some point, that journey will end. He could be a director of football tomorrow at a Premier League club or a top European side. He's bright and he's capable, and he's still a young guy, a lot younger than me. We've got 3 years left of the 7 years. I'll be fighting to keep him doing something with me post that, but he's a loyal guy and he's committed to that. So the fans really need to understand that everything that we're achieving, yes, it takes money to do that, but it takes vision and intelligence, and most important, I think the reason we've had the success we've had is there is literally no egos in the building. Johnny Vaughan, same, no ego.
I think you're right. I mean, you touched on money there, and it isn't necessarily a correlation to winning football leagues, is it?
No, and where you allocate your capital for things like that infrastructure has been driven by Simon. That's it. Him saying, well, if I'm going to bring this player, Paddy Madden, great example, League One player, he drops down to a National League side who have actually been in National League North not too far away. Previously, he is, I think at the time, 31 years old, but it's Simon discussing the vision of what we've got, looking at the facility that he's helped put together to say, we're doing this because we're going to here. And, it's so important.
It's strange. I mean, 26 years ago I started here and we were in the Championship.
Oh, you 5, 6?
Yeah, something like that. But I think, maybe it's naively, but I thought it's always going to be like this. I'm always going to be at Molineux or Main Road or Sellers Park or wherever. It can bite you on the bum quite quickly, and we've plummeted like a stone. So to see the club coming back is so exciting for somebody like me in particular. But I think, next season, what does success look like? Because you've got this sort of 3-year window now to achieve
it doesn't
what
end
you
at
want.
3 years.
No, it doesn't.
No.
So what does success look like next season in League One?
Like this season, you ask Dave and Simon, and they say top 3, and I say win the league. Throughout the time that I've owned the club, we've had a top 3 budget every year. We've been right up there. It's only because Wrexham have had more money to spend that we haven't always had the top budget. Nice to see you here in your Wrexham shirt
sorry
today,
about that. Yeah, I didn't get the memo.
So we've had a budget right at the top. This year, for the first time, we will have a top 10 budget.
Okay.
It won't be a top 3 budget. You've got Birmingham now coming down. I mean, you've got Bolton. Might still go up, but there are some massive clubs in there, and clubs who, ex-Premier League clubs that have been in the Championship for a long time, who now find themselves in League One. So we're going to have a top 10 budget. We're going to be competitive. For me, we should be weak with Simon's relationships as well. We're going to really use the loan market. League One opens that up in a different way. The big clubs, this you just don't always. We're lucky with Louis Barry, but you don't get the loans in League Two. So I think this year for me, it should be the playoffs. So I think that should be the target for us. If you ask Dave and Simon, I think they would probably say a top 10 finish would be success this year. Bouncing around the playoffs. I think 3rd to 6th for me this year is what I'll be hoping for, pushing for. But they do know more about football than I do. So it depends what happens. We're making the change this year. The other thing is we're changing a lot of the players this year. As we made some changes, bringing in your Tantos and Akil Wrights and all those guys when we got into League Two, and it took us a while. I know we go back to the county, always start slowly, but it took us a while to gel a load of new players together. We are going to have to do that at the start of this season. There's going to be some new young players coming in, so there will be a time for that to gel together. But I still think even with that, we should be aiming for playoffs this season, and that's what I'm hoping for.
I'm only asking it because you mentioned him, but Louis Barry, what are the prospects?
We're really trying. Louis and his dad, I spoke to both of them the night of the promotion party. He loves it, Louis Barry. And he's had loans before that haven't worked out. It's really worked here. He's really comfortable here. Gets on well with Dave. I think Dave can really develop him. There'll be Championship clubs looking for Louis. I'd like to buy Louis. I think that's, at his age, with his talent, that's the type of player that can unlock real value. Yes, I'd love to sign him and say he'll be here forever, but we should be signing Louis Barry and giving him the platform to become a Premier League player in the future. And we should capitalise on that value, share some of that with Aston Villa, and that should be the model. That's how we could create a sustainable football club playing the right type of football that everyone wants to watch. So watch this space. He's back training with Villa at the moment with the first team, because that was the deal, and getting back to full fitness. But yeah, I'd love to have Louis in the building for the next few years.
It's a great point to finish. Well done, Mark. Fantastic. Have a great summer. Enjoy yourself, and we'll see you in the new,
Thanks very
new
much.
campaign. All the best. Cheers,
Cheers.
pal. Thank you very much.